Good evening and welcome to the podcast this evening. It's great to have you on board as always. Truly, thank you. I appreciate you coming in this evening and listening to what I've got to say or whatever I learn along the way in life. And, interestingly enough, before I get into this, I was talking to someone at work, and we were talking about the fact that brothers in Christ, sisters in Christ, whatever it may be, either one, and we have different things that bring to the table, and we should be sharing those with each other. I don't mean like a commune share our food and communal like the Marxists. I mean, what knowledge we do have is to share with one another so we can better ourselves, whether it be just living off land or living from the Bible in different ways. So, all right. I'm glad I was able to ramble on that. All right, so we've been talking about the 1800s. What a fun place to talk about. So, and I don't mean America 1800s, the Civil War of 1861 and so forth, or the War of 1812. That is not what we're talking about. But we're talking about where our modern Bibles come from in the background. So we talked about Eberhard Nessels, and we're going to get into some other folks. We're going to stay in Europe for a moment, where we came from, where we started with the bridging of the Enlightenment period from the late 1700s into the early 1800s, where that bridge was formed by Immanuel Kant and into German rationalism and religious socialism and so forth. So, and we talked about the names associated, a few of those names associated there in the 1800s, especially after that lovely little revolt in 1848. But now we're going to talk about the universities a little bit, just a little bit. So we're going to talk about the Catholic and the Protestant universities that were in play in the 1800s. Some of them still exist today. Some of them have a little bit of a different name, but again, they're still there, but they were very prominent in that time frame of when everything was going down. So I'm going to go ahead and start because you got to understand, all of these play a role in the bigger picture of things. I know we only like to go so far, and we don't go further back. We don't really follow the breadcrumbs. We're supposed to search the scriptures like the Bereans, like detectives, but we don't. We just don't. So that's why I think it's important that we talk about these things. Because during the 19th century, there were several Catholic universities in Germany playing a significant role in education, theology, and intellectual life, despite the challenges that were posed, supposedly, by political and social changes. In fact, they played a role in those political and social changes. So let's go through some of these big-time notable Catholic universities in Germany during that period. We begin with the university. Now, remember, I'm not German, so I may not get these names correct. So I ask for a little grace on that. The University of Freiburg, could be Freiburg, I'll go with Freiburg, which was, and this is just a wiki background on this one, and I added a little to it, other information that exists. They were founded in the mid-1400s, which is the 15th century. The University of Freiburg has always had a strong Catholic tradition. Of course they would, because it's a Catholic university. And was an important center, a largely important center, for the Catholic theology and philosophy during the 19th century. It emphasized the integrity, what's the word? I'm not saying integrity, what's the word I'm looking for? Integration. Integration of faith and reason in its academic pursuits. You see how we come from that Enlightenment period, reasoning, and we go into this. But let's talk about university. I just want to talk about a couple of names that come from the University of Freiburg, because sometimes you got to see the fruit. What are their fruits? You got a lot of scientists, but I just want to go with a couple of guys. You got Friedrich Meinecke, who was a Catholic, obviously. He was an anti-Semite, and he favored the Nazis. He supported the Nazis. Then you have a gentleman named Max Weber. He was married to a feminist and, wait for it, a socialist. Socialists in that time frame. How about Eugen Fischer, a well-known Nazi at that time? But remember, the Catholics had nothing to do with that. They didn't support it at all. Well, some did, didn't they? Now we move on to the University of Tübingen, or Tübingen, or Tübingen, I don't even know. Although officially Protestant since the Reformation, Tübingen became known for its Catholic theological faculty and its role in the Catholic intellectual, you have to make sure you put that word in there, intellectual revival, the Catholic awakening during the 19th century. Many popular Catholic theologians and philosophers studied and taught there. Many of them. People like, now it's a Catholic church, so some won't surprise you, Joseph Ratzinger. Do we remember who he is? We're going to talk about him a little bit more. University of Tübingen created Joseph Ratzinger, which I actually have a book by him, Principal Theories or something like that. And then there was George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. He was a very big mentor in the philosophical movements. Then there's Helmut Thielicke, who was also an anti-Semite who favored people like the Nazis. Then there was Ernst Simon Bloch. His heroes now, Karl Marx and Hegel. And then there was Ferdinand Christian Bauer, another lovely man. All right, so we move on to the University of Munster. Or it could be Munster. I don't know. If someone's German, I apologize out there. Not for what German people did in these universities in that time frame, but if I've mispronounced some of the words, I do apologize for that. Not being German, have a tough time. Now, this university was actually kind of closer to the time frame. This university was founded in the late 1700s, so you're talking 1780, around that area. Munster became a significant center for Catholic theology and philosophy in the 19th century. I mean, they just got going and started, and boom, they're already playing a huge role. And there's a background to that, but we're not going to get into that right now. It played, I would say, a crucial role in the development. Yeah, I would say development of neo-scholasticism, educational-wise. It was a revival of the philosophical and theological ideas of Thomas Aquinas. Let's talk about a couple of people who come from that background. You got Kurt Aland, the theologian who put himself on the Greek New Testament with Nestles, which we get into that one. Nestles and Aland's Greek New Testament, 1898, but he didn't come along until much further on, 40 years later at least. And then, of course, you got from the University of Munster, same Pope, he shows up again, Pope Benedict. Then you have Karl Barth, who's an important figure. Joseph Hoffner, a Catholic bishop, and he was not actually a good guy. Friedrich Maurer, who was a Nazi, and big in the euthanasia program. If I remember correctly, he actually kind of coined the whole movement of euthanasia. What we got? Margaret Sanger today in this country. So good Catholic guy right there. Although the Catholic Church back then was really killing everybody, anyways. Wolfgang Metzger, no, he's not related to Bruce Metzger. That was something I tried to figure out if he was or not. I would never want to say something. But anyways, this gentleman was a Nazi, an SS. He was in charge of one of the SS programs. So there's some of your Catholic folks right there of that time frame. Now let us look at the University of Bonn. Bonn was established when? 1818. Look at that, right in the beginning stages of this whole movement to radically, massively shift and change a lot of the Bible. So they had, obviously, a strong Catholic presence in its theological faculty and contributed to, remember, I got to keep this word now, got to keep this word in there, to the Catholic intellectual life in Germany. And it attracted quite a number of prominent Catholic scholars and theologians. Let me tell you that right now. But who would they be? I mean, you can't have any bad people there. I mean, they're Catholic. They can't be associated with bad people. It's not like Friedrich Nietzsche went there, or Karl Marx, or Carl Schmitt, the Nazi, or Otto Kranheimer, the OSS director, CIA, and well-known socialist. Pope Benedict also went to school here as well. Let's see. Well, I don't know. Joseph Goebbels. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. That's another Nazi. What about Joseph Mengele? You know, that's another Nazi. But, you know, yeah, what are you going to do there, you know? No big deal. There's no, you know, let's not put everybody in the same. Again, fruits. The Bible teaches us about fruits. Judge them by their fruits. These aren't parents having children, they go off and they choose things. These are people who are taught things in these universities. You see that today on campuses in this country. 90% of those kids didn't learn what they learned now from home. They learned them in your universities, and that's why it's important to understand that. Your apostles were never in universities, were they? Well, Paul could be an exception, obviously, to that. And even Stephen, I'll give you that. Stephen had issues. Okay, I'm going to go off track here. All right. Now we're going to move on because, okay, let me finish this little part about the Catholic universities. These universities served, as we know, as important centers for Catholic scholarship. You know, focusing on theology and philosophy. You ever notice how they got theology and philosophy every time? Colossians 3:8, when we talk about that. During the period when Germany experienced significant political and social changes or transformations, including the secularization of education. They played crucial roles in preserving what they believed and developing new Catholic intellectual traditions that were never traditions in the way they were once known by the people. They completely changed it amidst changing the norms. They didn't change the norms. They fit everything to fit into the norms of that time frame, just like we do today. Just like it happens today. All right. So now, let's talk about the Protestant universities in Germany that played a significant role in shaping theological, philosophical, and even scientific thought. But we're not really going to get into the scientific part of it. But I mean, we could, but there's some great. I mean, Joseph Mengele was a scientist. Here are some notable and most important Protestant universities in Germany during that period of time. Because we have to put everything in perspective of time frame of when they were around. So now you have the University of Berlin. When was that founded? In 1810. Again, right in the beginning of all of this massive shift and change of destroying the real Bible that had been already around. I'm not even talking about the Catholic Bible. And listen, if you're a Catholic listening to this, you should be angry too. Because you've been suckered and fooled because you don't match your Douay-Rheims. So, Yikes! You're not even in the right Bible either. When you read these NRSVs and these NABs nowadays, we'll talk about that in a little while as well. Some would say it became a leading center, just like the other Catholic universities, of higher learning in Germany. It did, or it said, it emphasized academic freedom and freedom of research across different fields. And it was known for its strong faculties in theology and philosophy that contributed to Protestant theological scholarship. Well, I'll let you know, we're talking about Lutheranism, okay? We're talking about Luther. We're talking about the Lutherans. And that's what we're going to talk about throughout all these colleges, who Eberhard Nessels was, 1898, and created what he did, and Catholicism. Even Lutherans will admit they're closer to Catholicism than Protestantism. And we all sit here and go, no, that's not true. Martin Luther was a Protestant. Not by choice, guys. He didn't leave the church. He was excommunicated. Please remember that. University of Berlin. Who else would have went there? There's a couple of names I might have already said. Like Karl Marx. Good guy. Socialist, communist. Good guy. How about George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel? Rationalism. The German rationalism we talked about in the 1800s that was used towards socialism to destroy the Bible or make the modern Bibles we have today. That's where the root of the tree of that nonsense, that rotten fruit came from. Engels, another socialist communist. What about Walter Benjamin? A Kantian, by the way. A Kantian is someone who follows Immanuel Kant. Remember, Immanuel Kant's the guy who said the bridge Enlightenment into German rationalism. We have Enlightenment, rationalism, socialism, modern Bibles. Walter Benjamin was a Marxist. Karl Liebknecht, a Nazi, also a Kantian. Werner von Braun, we all know him, right? Nazi, NASA, Operation Paperclip. Let's see, what about the Brothers Grimm? All their little fairy tales. Well, they were big-time Lutherans. So, they're Lutheran. So, how you like them apples, huh? That's what they say in Boston. All right, now we look at the University of Halle-Wittenberg. Now, they go back a little further, than the last few that we talked about. They were founded in 1694 through the merger of the University of Halle and the University of Wittenberg. Now, I can go deeper into all these things, but I try, and I'm probably talking a little quick. I wanted to keep this as close to a half an hour as I possibly can. As I said before, they were founded in 1694 by the combination or merger of both the University of Halle and University of Wittenberg. And it was known to be a prominent Protestant university during the 19th century. Remember, 1700 basically it's founded, and it's big time in the 19th century, 1800s. The world's an interesting place in the 1800s, isn't it? And it had many notable faculties in theology. There we go again. Philosophy. There you go again. You know who went to that university? I picked the one name that was most important to me. Immanuel Kant. The Enlightenment to Rationalism. Remember we talked about this? I mean, there's other men who've gone there, but we talked about him for a reason of what happened, of the bridge. All right, let's move on to another Protestant university that's Lutheran. University of Göttingen, founded in 1734. See, not too long before 1800. It was originally, I find this funny, it was originally established as a Lutheran university. In fact, it continued to be a significant center of Protestant scholarship and theology and philosophy during the what? 19th century. These are not coincidences. In the South, they say quinkydink. It's not at all. Everything connects. But we don't want to see it sometimes because we want to live in our own bubble. We got to go outside that bubble. and realize where your modern Bibles really, really, really come from. Manuscripts. Oh, yeah. They do come from manuscripts. Which ones? So we're talking about University of Göttingen. Who comes from there? Again, some gentlemen who also went there, Brothers Grimm, Otto von Bismarck, Arthur Schopenhauer. Some big names right there alone. Look them up. Brothers Grimm, I just mentioned, big time Lutheran. Arthur Schopenhauer, also a Lutheran. Otto von Bismarck was also a Lutheran background. Now we move on to the University of Leipzig. Now, to me, this is important. And there's a name I didn't write down. I'm wondering if you'll call me out on it. I did it on purpose. It's the last name, and I'll tell you who it is. They were established in 1409. At least this thing goes back a while. Leipzig had and this is what I find funny, had a strong Protestant theological faculty that contributed, I would say mostly contributed, to theological and philosophical debates. Men have been debating, and you know how I feel about debates, during anybody at all, the 19th century. And they were known for their contributions to literature, linguistics. But I'm going to go through some of the names there. Friedrich Nietzsche, socialist. He was a sad, sad man. Eberhard Nessels, the Novum Testamentum, the Greek New Testament. How about Karl Barth, a Freemason and Catholic? Wait, Steve, you said it's a Protestant university. I know. He was a Freemason and a Catholic. What about C.F.W. Walther, of the gun background name? He's probably a good guy, Lutheran. I mean, come on, he was the first president of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, or a synod. I've heard it both ways. I mean, it's not like he had any issues with embezzlement or sex scandals, did he? Up in, where is it? Perry Junction or something like that, Indiana, or somewhere out there. And as a newer name, when I did the research on this, I thought this was interesting. Angela Merkel. Steve, he's not 1800s, not even close to that. She's not even close to that. Well, she's a Lutheran and a known communist and Marxist. That's her background. I don't make these things up. Now, there's another name I haven't mentioned, because I mentioned Eberhard Nessels from the University of Leipzig. And we know Eberhard Nessels drew on Westcott and Hort. I think his name is Bernhard Weiss, and Constantine von Tischendorf. And that's a name I'm sure everybody knows, the scandal on that one, how things were changed, blah, blah, blah. Met with the Pope before he went on to discover the manuscripts at the Catholic monastery. They was using it for fire, even though they didn't need fire because they were one of the greatest libraries in that area of old manuscripts and documents. But, don't let the, truth hurt or anything like that. So, that is the University of Leipzig. Now we're going to move back into the University of Tübingen, because, wait a minute, didn't I just talk about the University of Tübingen in the Catholic section? I did. But, although officially Protestant, they have had a diverse theological, or many men of that background that included Catholic theologians. It's funny how it played a crucial role, the university, in Protestant theology and philosophy during the 19th century, even though it also being Catholic. Now, what I left out and I didn't bring up yet was every one of these universities in the Protestant section has a sitting Catholic faculty of theology. Ain't that something? Not as a guest. Well, we just want to hear both sides. No. Those were your teachers. The real teachers. And as we know, Eberhard Nessels went to the University of Tübingen. Joseph Ratzinger, who became a pope. But, Eberhard Nessels is not Catholic. He's Protestant, right? He's Lutheran Protestant. And Joseph Ratzinger is a Catholic. What are they doing? What's going on? Helmut Thielecki, who was also a Lutheran theologian and a Nazi sympathizer. And Hans Kung, a Catholic priest. I think he was a Swiss Catholic priest. But he's in a Protestant university. He must, became Catholic later. No, he didn't. He was Catholic all along. He went to a Protestant university. And people say, well, you can go to university and it doesn't really matter and they teach different things and this is where you get to your coexist and this is where you get all religions become one religion, all this stuff, Protestantism, Catholicism, all of it, Islam, all of it. All of it comes together at one point. Hinduism, Buddhism, a lot of isms, isn't there? And that's why. It's always been there. All of these universities, both Protestant and Catholics, were the centers of intellectual and academic excellence of the 1800s. They were fostering what they like to call debates. And most importantly, I love how they point this out in a lot of different areas, a lot of different articles I read. Advancements. What a beautiful word. It's like CNN and Fox and stuff like that when they use talking points, and somehow they all have the same ones. Advancements, not learning about what is, or what was. Advancements in theology and philosophy. What kind of advancements do you need to have? The Bible is the Bible. The Word of God is the Word of God. What are these advancements? Because we know they've taken out many important things. Both the Lutherans and the Catholics together, in my opinion, played crucial roles in shaping Protestant thought and contributed rather significantly to the broader intellectual parts or the cultural time frame of Europe during the 19th century. Oh, excuse me. That is where we get our modern Bibles. It's not like Eberhard Nessels out of the clear blue went, hey, I got something. It's not like when Tischendorf came out of the clear blue and went, hey, I found this. I found this amazingly after I met with the Pope or the bishops and I got permission and letters to go and find this stuff. Being a Protestant, the Catholic Church allowed me. So I'm sure they'll be pushed back. And, well, Catholics, I don't care if you're mad at me at the Catholic Church or like that. You guys are wrong. What are you going to do? Lutherans fly under the radar a little bit. They're a little more... I'm not going to blame all the laymen of Lutheranism, the regular folk like myself who don't know. It's like the Freemason lodges or Masonic lodges, although they should know by now. But, those lower level people have no clue what's going on. They go and they listen, blah, blah, blah. And it works for them. See, it works for them. It fits with their world, their narrative of life. Because it's hard to think outside the box, and it's hard to take yourself out of the world and stay in the Bible. It's hard for them to keep their thumb between the pages and their heart in the book when they want to look at another book, when they want to watch some secular movie they keep hearing about. So your modern Bibles, you can go back to Enlightenism, the Enlightenment movement. The 1800s of socialism. We might continue with this, but I think we'll look at names in the circles of these certain theological seminaries, or names in theologians and who they associate with, and it's important to know. We all know that it's important. It just is. Lack of better intellectual phrasing of my sentence structure. It's a good thing. You need to know these things. So when you talk about your ESVs, your NRSVs, your NIV, your NET, and even the Calvinists with their what was it, LB now? LEB, Legacy Bible there? And Ken Ham. Hey guys, you just played right into the Catholics' hands. The Roman Catholic Church got you. And with that, my friends, I say God bless. Thank you for listening. Appreciate your time. And good night.